The 2025 Combine is over, which means more mock drafts for all of us. My name's Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and we are going to be doing our first live mock draft for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the 2025 NFL Draft. What do I mean by live? Ryan and I, we will be on PFF, and we will be picking as Jaguars for the entire 7 rounds. So be sure to leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts on our selections and what you would like to see the Jaguars do for each pick. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and tackle that bell to get notified when new videos come out. And Ryan, let's pull up PFF here.
Let's
And
do
so
it.
we've already gone through a couple of the picks. So we've gone Cam Ward, Ted McMillan to the Browns, which unlikely but possible. Abdul Carter to the Giants, that's unlikely. That's extremely unlikely. Travis Hunter then to the New England Patriots. So now the Jaguars are picking here. Shador Sanders, obviously, correct. I'm just
Oh,
joking,
yeah,
obviously.
for sure, for
Um,
sure.
in all seriousness, to me, when I've done mock drafts and when I've looked at this stuff, is to me they need so much help on the offensive line that Will Campbell is the first one that comes to my mind. But I just love the idea of Mason Graham in between Trayvon Walker in a football sense, between Trayvon Walker and also Josh Allen as well. But I think
Yeah,
that defensive front, I think it would help out a bunch. I think it would help
it
out the defense as a whole, especially in the secondary, as the Jacksonville Jaguars were just one of the worst defenses overall last year. And so
yeah.
helping out the defensive interior as much as possible. But that being said, though, those to me are the 2 picks that come to my mind.
Yeah, yeah, Mason Graham and Will Campbell are the ones I think for me that this debate is
Yeah.
about. And it really is just, do you want to strengthen that offensive line? Do you want to strengthen that defensive line? And I do feel like with that defensive line being such a glaring issue last year, I think Mason Graham is probably the pick. I also think in terms of like Will Campbell is a great offensive line prospect. I don't want that to be mistaken, but what Mason Graham brings in just his violence and his effectiveness on the field, I feel like is maybe a little bit greater than Mason Graham, especially to Will Campbell. It will definitely be a guard at the next level, in my opinion. And so
Yeah.
I think go get Mason Graham, solidify that interior, and then you can go and get a guard here in the second round, so or third round when you have 2 picks. So let's go ahead, let's make that pick, and then I'm going to speed this up just a
Well,
smidge.
yeah, and the
It,
Jags have a bunch of picks right now. So, like,
yeah,
offensive line and where they're picking at, as you said, with their offensive line is gonna be about kinda what they
yeah.
could end up doing here. So, if we go
And
look at
interior
off
offensive line, like Tyler Booker is there for the taking right now. And so I feel like that's kind of the pick. He's the best true
yeah.
interior offensive lineman in this draft. I mean, to be fair, you could make the case like Tyleek Williams is like a really good interior defensive lineman too. But I feel like Mason Graham is going to bring significantly more to the table in terms
Well,
of pass rush.
and that's the question is how much better is Will Campbell compared to the next guy, and how much
Yeah.
better is Mason Graham compared to the next guy? And I think the depth of the defensive line in this class is something that I don't think we've seen in a long time. I had to go back and double check on the draft
Yeah.
classes. The offensive line talent is above average up to about middle of
Interior
round
offensive
4.
line
Sorry,
talent.
yeah, interior offensive line, if you include Will Campbell and tackles that will kick into guard, such as Gray Zabel, for example, from North Dakota State, is I don't think nearly as deep as the defensive line class talent. Now, Will Campbell and those first round guys compared to then to second, third round guys, I think are really good, but there's a quicker drop off. And now you can maybe even make an argument after day 2, the offensive line talent does go down pretty significantly. So that's where that'll be a very interesting debate.
Yeah.
Here, though, going back to it, yeah, I think you did defensive interior. I think now you do offensive line interior.
Yeah, go get Tyler Booker. I think that's the correct pick there
Yeah.
for the Jags. So, I
And
mean,
one thing, oops, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and like they could potentially go with like a receiver or somebody because Christian Kirk is not going to be back. Uh, Gabe Davis, I mean, is Gabe Davis. He has a few good games here and there. Brian Thomas Jr. was fantastic in his rookie season, but I do think you could get a compliment. But this is also a really deep wide receiver class. There's not a lot of top end talent, and so I think now that you're in the third round, I think you can go look at like a Jalen Royals or Isaiah Bond or one of those guys to come in and play that Christian Kirk type role.
Yeah, yeah, and so, and even too as well when it comes to some of these guys, just real quick. I mean, they Jags have a decent bit of cap space. So when I'm looking at the depth chart as right now, and they're still relatively young on the defensive side of the ball, so probably not going to cut too many of the starters. So I think it's going to be kind of once you've addressed those two positions with like key guys, uh, then I think he's just best player available a lot of times on the defensive side of the ball. And so to me, I'm kind of looking at who are some of these guys on the defensive side with this pick as of right now that they can help improve on. Like it's Chris Paul there. Who are some other linebackers or secondary guys that are
I
going to
was
be
just about to
available here?
say secondary might be the one that I'm leaning towards. I'll snag linebackers in this grouping as well, but Chris Paul's one. Um, Dorian Strong is an interesting one. I feel like at the top of the fourth round, you're going to get better value here where you're like Kobe Bryant, Melo Dotson, Noel Williams, all will most likely go. Zy Alexander's another one. So maybe we wait on that. You could go get Chris Paul. They do have oh, who's the kid from Utah?
I'll look it up here. Devin
It's
Lloyd.
Devin Lloyd, yeah.
Yeah.
Devin Lloyd in that linebacker room, who hasn't been great, but hasn't also been like awful. He's just been a good NFL player. So that is interesting there. You don't want to look at like receiver or anything at all.
That well, because once there's so many good day three receivers though too, and they have a lot of picks.
Yeah.
This is a spot, and I say that though, Jalen Royals though I think would be a great compliment to Brian
Yeah.
Thomas.
And they also do have another pick here at 88, where we could potentially go and target a linebacker as well.
Yeah,
I don't know. Jeffrey Bassa is really intriguing. He's a really good linebacker too. Um, I don't know. It's up
yeah.
to you.
And
I've
now I see I see now because like walking back, it's like I was thinking of how good Brian Thomas was too, but the next guy up outside of that isn't really that spectacular. And so I could see that route here, especially too with two third round picks. I could see let's go with the receiver that you like. To me, I really
okay.
like Jalen Royals. I know
Yeah,
you
let's
do
do
too.
Jalen Royals
I
here.
think a lot of people really like it. It's possible he might not even be here to kick off the third round. But then too with this
Yeah.
88th pick, let's see who's available here. What linebackers come off the board?
Um,
Jeffrey
I
Boss is
don't know
still
if
there.
any Chris Paul did. Jeffrey Bassa, I think, is definitely the next guy um
I
up.
I think that's the route that you can go. My one thing is if you'd want to potentially do who do we did Tyler Booker. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so I could see maybe if you want to double dip on the offensive line, because you do still have Anton Harrison, you do still have Walker Little. But once again, to Walker Little, though, when did they draft Walker Little? 2021. And
Yeah.
so you got a good fit there. I mean, if you maybe want to get Charles Grant, he'd be a good guy. Go across from him. They
I
just need so much help overall. Do you have
I
Blake
think
Hansen
though,
and Brandon Sheriff are going to be free agents?
yeah. I think he
And that,
kicks into interior.
he does.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's look at interior offensive lineman. I'm leaning Jeffrey Bassa at the moment,
Okay.
but we could also go like Jared Wilson. Tate Ratledge is another one. I think that would be interesting. So you have your left guard and Tyler Booker. You can go get a right guard there and Tate Ratledge. Um,
Potentially. Let's Let's double dip in day 3. I think to your
okay.
point, though, let's go get Jeffrey Bassa here,
Okay.
and let's go see who's available because secondary is another one that you talked about as well. Let's see who's available here at 106.
Okay.
Your Patriots just took Tate Rutledge, so I like.
Ah, those jerks.
I know, horrible
Those
people.
cheaters.
Uh, so I do like. So Andre Cisco is a free agent. Just saying this, and it says they're free safety. But so Andrew Makuba is there. Jacob Parrish, Kobe Bryant, Melo Dotson. Yeah, this just seems like the corner spot here. If they're going to try and get that, it's still a pretty young corner room overall.
Yeah.
Montrezl Brown, as of right now, is they're starting. I guess they say left cornerback here, according to our lads. Tyson Campbell, right cornerback as well. So just trying to find some good value overall
I think Kobe
with these
Bryant
picks.
is potentially the one here. Jacob Parrish is also good value. But I like Kobe Bryant. He's a true outside guy. Didn't run the best 40, but he's still a fluid athlete, and he weighed in much heavier than 175. I think. I think he was
Yeah.
closer to 195. So
Well, and I also think too as well, if you're looking at this defense as if now that you've added Mason Graham, you're hoping, and then you have Jeffrey Boston now as well. You're hoping now you can really just rush 4 guys
yeah,
and drop back in coverage and really help out cover a lot of spaces there. So might be a better scheme fit as well. So solid guys as well who are good for zone. I think could be a route that they end up going.
Yeah, and that is, I think, Kobe Bryant. So let's
Yeah,
let's make that pick there. They're picking here in 10 picks. So yeah, you just saw a big run on corners. Uh, so there's Noel Williams, Mello Dotson is right there, Andrew Mukuba, Jacob Parrish. So like you got the first of that big run on corners there. So that always feels good when you kind of start a run uh, on players there. But
I haven't run
uh,
in a long time, so I don't really know, but I think I see what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah. So let's go. Honestly, at this point, I'm kind of in best player available mode. Do a quick recap. So Mason Graham, Tyler Booker, Jalen Royals, Jeffrey Bossa, Kobe Bryant. I mean, I think this is a point you could start to consider double dipping on the interior offensive line, um, if you
Good
really want
tackle
to.
also as well. Yeah,
Yeah. Will Lampkin had a really good Senior Bowl. He actually was a really interesting story. He's only like 290, but he was holding up against some of the more powerful uh, defensive tackles on that offensive interior at the Senior Bowl. I do also want to look and see if there's any good value here on that defensive interior at this point. I don't see too many guys,
not as
but
of now.
but if you could get like a Kenneth Grant to your Mason Graham pick, I feel like that would be worth it. I think I'm trying to remember how big Tim Smith is. Not quite that big. Um, but I do like a lot of these potential options here uh for the Jags.
So one thing to think about that what's the running back situation here? Because um,
Yeah.
let me see.
I
What is Travis Etienne's contract situation? Because is
could draft Trevor Etienne.
he could draft Trevor?
Yeah.
That would
That'd
be
be
interesting.
funny. I think Ollie Gordon is a guy that's rated a little low here. I think he's much closer to the top of this group. Granted, to be fair, all these guys are just in the same grouping, in my opinion, at this point. So
So I bring this up here too because, and this is more just an overall question for Jags fans, but Travis Etienne's in his final year for his rookie contract. They picked up his fifth year uh, for being a first rounder, and he didn't play in 2021, but he was 1,000-yard rusher in 22 and 23. He was not in 24. He only played in 15 games, but to be fair, though, that entire offense just took a major step back in
yeah,
general. So it's would you re-sign him? And so that's just what I'm thinking. I'm just trying to think through that thought experiment because with how good this running back class is, then you do have Tank Bigsby, but Tank Bigsby though he also too is, I mean
he's a complimentary guy.
he's your goal line guy. He's the big guy.
I,
So
I think if you want to go a Travis Etienne replacement, Ollie Gordon is a really solid every down back. Kyle Monungai is another one that I like as well. Khalil Mullings can be that guy as well. Um, I mean, and like again, to be fair, all these guys are really good. Jarquez Hunter is another really solid back too.
yeah,
Um, so like it really just depends on which one you want. Um, I do feel like you could get better value maybe at your next pick.
yeah, I
If you
agree with
want to
that.
go and get another interior offensive lineman here, or maybe even get a tackle like Chase Lunt could be a tackle. I'm a big fan of Jack Nelson also. He was a multi-year starter at left tackle and grades out pretty well. Just he's an older guy. He's going to be 24, I think.
God, he's
Uh,
huge. Let's get
yeah,
Jack Nelson here too, because
yeah,
let's do that route. Because one issue though last year, it felt like Walker Little got hurt every other game,
yeah.
and so I think
Okay.
also too. So we got that starting interior offensive lineman Tyler Booker, and so now we got Jack Nelson here.
Okay. I like that. And then also too, some people think that Jack Nelson will kick into the interior because he's not quite athletic enough. I disagree with that take. I think he has the length and the athleticism to hold up on the outside. I don't think he's ever going to be an all pro by any means, but
Yeah,
I think he can be a swing tackle for you. So
yeah,
here with the Jags, I think now we look at that running back spot and maybe go Jarquez Hunter interests me a lot. Khalil Mullings, Kyle Monangai, or Ollie Gordon.
Let's get Monangai.
Monangai? Why? Just
Yeah,
because you like his name?
yeah, and I can pronounce it. Yeah, historically,
Okay.
I've not been able to do that. So let's do that.
Yeah, I like him. He's a good back. He's in that like 5'11", like 205, 210
Perfect.
mold that we're seeing a lot of guys.
Before our next
Uh,
pick here, let's quickly review. So we've gone Mason Graham, and then Tyler
yeah,
Booker, Jalen
Booker,
Royals, Jeffrey
Royals.
Vasa, Kobe Bryant, Jack Nelson, Kyle Monangai. 3 picks left here. Let's see. Let's focus on. You do have Jonah Monaghan there, like once again double dip because I think that offensive line is just such a big need for
Yeah,
them. Like they got to
I
figure
mean
that out. They've invested
that could
so
be
much.
your center guard tackle right there that you just
Yeah,
drafted with
I
Jonah
like that.
Monaghan.
Let's end up
Okay.
doing that. And I think I would say tight end, but now they got Brenton Strange. I almost think maybe another receiver here, another receiver or corner, depending on who else going to be available. Got good value here. Ooh, Ricky White, I think would be interesting there.
Yeah.
It is funny. We've not been selecting Ty Felton just because we don't think he's not the 208th ranked player in this draft.
No.
Unless
No.
that we are missing something. Unless that we are
Yeah.
100% missing something. And we're apparently the only people on the face of this earth that don't know about it. I do think Jimmy Horn, actually, I think this is a legit spot for him. I think he would be a good
Yeah.
compliment there to Brian Thomas Jr. Um,
Yeah. The one that actually that caught my eye was Deontay Thornton. We can do Jimmy Horn, but Deontay Thornton, he was like 6'4", like 205, and he ran like a 4.3 flat, like
yeah,
just stupid fast. But yeah, I like Jimmy Horn. He can be like a slot, like true slot, where Jalen Royals can kind of move around the formation a little bit. So
yeah,
I like Jimmy Horn there. That's a good fit. I mean, coming up, we've done so much for them. This is kind of the hard part with like these like late day 3 picks is
I
there's just so many guys in so
yeah.
many positions that you've already filled, um, that you just kind of don't know
Let's
which direction to go.
let's wrap it up here with there's a couple safeties here. I think you can end up doing.
Malachi Moore is an interesting prospect. Um, Dante Trader is kind of that big like power. I guess maybe he just plays bigger. Jordan Hancock was kind of Caleb Downs' right hand man there at Ohio State. That would be an interesting one if you want to go that route.
Dan Jackson.
Yeah, Shiloh
Could be enough.
Sanders,
Let's do
DeRicky
Jordan
White.
Hancock.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
let's do
like
Jordan
that. I like
Hancock.
that fit. I'm gonna put this to turbo just to get through these last few picks here quickly. But no, all in all, I mean, you go look. I think the one thing the Jags definitely did in this mock draft was strengthen up the trenches, and I feel like was the biggest thing holding them back. I feel like Brian Thomas Jr. coming along, Trevor Lawrence when he was healthy was able to play really well, and like this offense, one I think lacked faith in Doug Peterson, but two just this team as a whole lacked the physicality in the trenches to really compete at the NFL level. So I think you go out, you get guys that can help you compete at that
Yeah,
level, and I think this team can do a pretty big 180 here in 2025.
yeah. No, it's gonna be really interesting just with Liam Cohen now as the quarterback, or as the head coach, as the quarterback of the entire play calling machine. I will say, but I think it's just going to be good for everybody to get just a new face in there. And a new voice overall. We've seen this happen though with a lot of teams where I mean they get a new head coach in, a new offensive coordinator even as well, so a whole new play calling system, and it does take some time to get used to everything. But everything was so bad last year for the Jags that it really can just go up. It's hard to see it getting any worse, and so I think they'll end up improving around. And the AFC South is for the takings. I mean, the Texans have some vulnerabilities. The Colts, who knows what's going on, and the Titans are rebuilding. So I can see the Jags maybe making another push here.
Yeah, no, I think they'll be they will definitely return back to division title contention, I think. So with that being said, let's go ahead, let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of this Jags live 7-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? And other than that, we'll see you guys next time.